Where is my bed, Mommy? Where are all my things? My 8-year-old son stood in the doorway of what used to be his room at his grandparents' house, his small suitcase still clutched in his hand, his face frozen in confusion and hurt. We had just driven 6 hours to spend Thanksgiving week with my in-laws, and Oliver had been so excited the entire drive, talking about all the things he was going to do, all the toys he had left in his special room, all the drawings he had put on the walls the last time we visited. But the room he was looking at was not his room anymore. The bed was gone. The dresser he had helped his grandfather pick out was gone. The nightstand with the little lamp shaped like a rocket ship was gone. The posters of dinosaurs and planets that he had carefully chosen and arranged were gone. Even the hook on the back of the door where he used to hang his bathrobe was gone. In their place was a playroom. A bright, cheerful playroom filled with toys that did not belong to Oliver. A pink plastic kitchen set. A dollhouse. Art supplies in rainbow colors. A bookshelf filled with picture books about princesses and fairies. A canopy bed with a frilly pink bedspread. This was not Oliver's room. This was a room for his cousins, the twin girls who were my sister-in-law's daughters. This was a room for Sophie and Emma, who lived only 20 minutes from my in-laws and visited every week. My son's room had been erased, and no one had thought to tell us. Where are my things? Oliver asked again, his voice smaller now, wavering. Where is my rocket lamp? Where are my dinosaurs? My mother-in-law appeared behind us, her smile bright and oblivious, as if she had not just delivered a devastating blow to her grandson. Oh, do you like the new playroom? We finally got around to redecorating. The girls needed a proper space to play when they visit. Your things are in the garage, sweetheart. We boxed them all up very carefully. The garage. She had taken my son's belongings, the things that had made this space his own, and put them in the garage like they were seasonal decorations being stored until needed again. But that was my room, Oliver said. Grandma, that was my room. You told me it would always be my room. I know, honey, but you do not visit very often. It did not make sense to keep an entire room set up for someone who comes maybe twice a year. Sophie and Emma are here every week. They needed the space more. I watched my son's face crumble. All the excitement of the trip, all the anticipation, all the joy he had been feeling just moments before, dissolved into heartbreak. He had been erased. His grandmother had looked at the room she had promised would always be his, weighed it against the convenience of her other grandchildren, and decided that Oliver was not worth the space. Where am I supposed to sleep? He asked. We will set up the air mattress in the basement. It will be like camping. An adventure. An adventure. Being banished to the basement on an air mattress while his cousins slept in a beautiful bedroom was supposed to be an adventure. I put my hand on Oliver's shoulder and gently pulled him back from the doorway. I could feel him trembling under my touch, fighting to hold back tears, trying so hard to be brave in front of his grandmother. We need to talk, I said to my mother-in-law, my voice tight with controlled fury. Now. Can it wait until after dinner? I have so much to do in the kitchen. No. It cannot wait. I steered Oliver toward the living room, where my husband Marcus was chatting with his father, completely unaware of the bomb that had just been dropped on his son. Marcus, can you take Oliver outside for a few minutes? I need to speak with your mother. Marcus looked up, his smile fading as he saw the expression on my face and the tears threatening to spill from Oliver's eyes. What happened? What is wrong? Just take him outside. Please. I will explain everything in a minute. Marcus did not argue. He could tell from my tone that something serious had happened. He took Oliver's hand and led him toward the backyard, murmuring reassurances, trying to figure out why his son looked like his world had just collapsed. Once they were gone, I turned to face my mother-in-law. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am 34 years old, and I have been married to my husband Marcus for 10 years. We have one child, a wonderful boy named Oliver who is 8 years old. He has curly brown hair and the deepest blue eyes you have ever seen, and he is the kind of kid who remembers everything, who holds on to places and people and experiences with a fierce loyalty that astounds me. Oliver forms deep attachments to his stuffed animals, to his friends, to the places he loves. When he decides something is his, it becomes part of his identity. He does not let go easily, and he does not forget. That is why the room at his grandparents' house meant so much to him. We live in Portland, Oregon. My in-laws live in Sacramento, California. It is about a 6-hour drive, which means we do not visit as often as we would like. We try to make it down for major holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas usually, and sometimes for a week in the summer. Maybe 3 or 4 visits a year, totaling about 2 to 3 weeks of time. I know that is not a lot. I know it does not compare to the weekly visits that Marcus's sister Kelly makes with her daughters. Kelly lives in the same town as her parents, just a 20-minute drive away. Her twins, Sophie and Emma, who are 6 years old, see their grandparents multiple times a week. They have sleepovers almost every weekend. They are a constant presence in my in-laws' lives in a way that Oliver simply cannot be because of geography. But that distance was not our choice. Marcus's job relocated us to Portland 3 years ago. We did not want to move so far from family, but the alternative was unemployment, and we had a 5-year-old to support. We made the best of a difficult situation. I remember the day we told Oliver about the move. He was 5 years old, and he did not fully understand what it meant. He kept asking if Grandma and Grandpa were coming with us, if his cousins would be in his new school, if we could still go to Sunday dinners at Grandma's house. "We will visit," I promised him. "We will come back and see everyone as often as we can." "But I do not want to go," he said, his lower lip trembling. "I want to stay here with Grandma and Grandpa." It broke my heart to see him so upset. He loved his grandparents, loved the routine of weekly visits, loved being part of a big, close family. Moving felt like a betrayal of everything he had known. When we first moved, my mother-in-law, Diane, made a promise to Oliver. She took him into the guest room, which had always been a generic space with beige walls and hotel-like furnishings, and she told him that this was going to be his special room. His room at Grandma and Grandpa's house. A place that would always be waiting for him, no matter how long between visits. "I know you are moving far away," she said, kneeling down to his level. "And I know you are sad about that. But I want you to know that you will always have a place here. This room is going to be your room. We are going to decorate it together, just the way you like it. And whenever you come to visit, it will be here waiting for you." Oliver's face lit up. "My room. Like my room at home. Exactly like your room at home. We will put your name on the door and everything." She let him pick out the bedding. They went to the store together, just the two of them, a special grandmother-grandson shopping trip. He chose a set with planets and rockets on it because he was going through a space phase at the time. The comforter was dark blue with colorful planets scattered across it, and the pillowcase had a rocket ship blasting off toward the stars. She let him choose posters for the walls. He picked dinosaurs, 3 different species carefully arranged above his bed, and a map of the solar system that went on the wall he could see when he lay down at night. She even bought him glow-in-the-dark stars that his grandfather helped him stick to the ceiling in the shape of real constellations. She bought him a special lamp, shaped like a rocket ship, that he could turn on if he woke up scared in the middle of the night. It cast a soft orange glow around the room, making it feel cozy and safe. Most importantly, she put his name on the door. A wooden plaque, painted blue with white letters, that said, "Oliver's Room." She hung it right at his eye level so he would see it every time he came to visit. "This is your room," she told him. "No matter what. Even when you are not here, this room is waiting for you. It will always be your special place at Grandma's house." The look on Oliver's face in that moment is something I will never forget. Pure joy. Pure security. The knowledge that even though his family was moving 600 miles away, he had not lost his place in his grandparents' lives. Oliver believed her. He trusted her. Every time we visited after that, he would run straight to his room, checking to make sure everything was still there, reassuring himself that his special place was still his. He would count his dinosaur posters, check that his rocket lamp was in its spot on the nightstand, look up at the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. He kept things there. Toys he had gotten as gifts during visits, books he wanted to read the next time he came, a puzzle he and his grandfather had been working on for over a year. The room accumulated his presence, layer by layer, visit by visit, until it truly felt like his. He would spend hours in that room, playing with the toys he kept there, reading the books on the little bookshelf, looking at the glow-in-the-dark stars his grandfather had helped him put on the ceiling. Sometimes he would just sit in there alone, enjoying the quiet, enjoying the feeling of being in a space that was completely his. That room was more than just a place to sleep. It was proof that he belonged. Proof that his grandparents loved him, thought about him, kept a space for him in their lives even when he was 600 miles away. It was a bridge between his two lives, a way of being connected to family even across the distance. And now it was gone. Erased. Given to someone else as if it had never mattered at all. The conversation with Diane did not go well. I confronted her in the kitchen, away from the rest of the family, trying to keep my voice low enough that Oliver would not hear us from the backyard. My hands were shaking with anger, and I had to grip the edge of the counter to keep myself steady. How could you do this without telling us? Without telling Oliver? Diane looked up from the vegetables she was chopping, her expression maddeningly calm. Do what? Redecorate a room in my own house. That was not just any room. That was Oliver's room. You promised him it would always be his room. That was 3 years ago, Sarah. Things change. The girls needed a proper playroom. They are here all the time, and they were making messes all over the house. It made sense to give them a dedicated space. And you could not have chosen any other room? The basement, the office, the dining room that you use maybe twice a year. The guest room was the logical choice. It was not being used most of the time anyway. It was being used by your grandson every time we visited. Diane set down her knife and turned to face me, her expression shifting from calm to defensive. You visit 3 times a year, Sarah. Maybe 4. That room sat empty for 49 weeks out of the year. Meanwhile, my granddaughters are here every single week. They needed the space. Oliver will understand. He does not understand. He is 8 years old and he just found out that his grandmother turned his room into a playroom for his cousins without even warning him. He is devastated. He will get over it. Children are resilient. That is not the point. The point is that you made him a promise. You told him that room would always be his. And you broke that promise without a second thought. I did not break a promise. I made a practical decision about my own home. You told him, and I quote, that room would be his no matter what. You said even when he was not here, it would be waiting for him. You put his name on the door, Diane. You made it official. And then you erased all of it. Diane crossed her arms, her expression hardening. I do not appreciate being lectured in my own kitchen. I made a practical decision about my own home. If you have a problem with it, that is your problem, not mine. It is Oliver's problem. He is out in the backyard right now trying not to cry because his grandmother just showed him that he does not matter as much as his cousins. That is not what happened. I simply repurposed a room that was not being used. I did not say anything about Oliver not mattering. You did not have to say it. Your actions said it for you. You looked at that room and decided that your granddaughter's convenience was more important than your grandson's sense of belonging. You decided that because he lives far away, because he cannot be here every week, he does not deserve the same space that they do. You are putting words in my mouth. I am reading your actions. What else am I supposed to conclude when you turn Oliver's room into a playroom for the girls without telling anyone? When you box up his belongings and put them in the garage? I put them in boxes so they would not get lost. I was being careful. Careful would have been calling us first. Careful would have been asking Oliver how he felt about it. Careful would have been finding a way to honor your promise while still accommodating the girls. Diane was silent for a moment, and I thought maybe I was getting through to her. But then she spoke again, and I realized I was wrong. I do not have to justify my decisions to you, Sarah. This is my house. I can do what I want with it. You are right. It is your house. And you have made it very clear that there is no room for Oliver in it. So we will not be staying. We stared at each other, the tension between us thick enough to cut. I could see that Diane did not understand. She genuinely did not see why what she had done was wrong. In her mind, she had made a logical, practical decision. Room not being used equals room available for new purpose. Simple math. But family was not math. Love was not math. You could not calculate a child's worth based on how many nights they slept in a particular bed. Where are Oliver's things? I asked. In the garage, like I said. Everything is in boxes. Nothing was thrown away. I want to see them. Diane led me to the garage, her posture stiff with resentment. She clearly thought I was overreacting, making a mountain out of a molehill, being the difficult daughter-in-law she had always suspected I was. The boxes were in the corner, stacked haphazardly between the lawnmower and a collection of old paint cans. There were 3 of them, cardboard boxes that had once held paper towels or canned goods, now repurposed to hold my son's belongings. I opened the first box. Inside, I found Oliver's rocket lamp, the cord tangled around its base. His dinosaur posters, rolled up and rubber-banded. The books from his bookshelf, tossed in without any order. The glow-in-the-dark stars, pulled from the ceiling and stuffed into a plastic bag. The second box held his bedding, the planets and rockets comforter that he had been so proud of choosing. It was wadded up, not folded, as if someone had stripped the bed in a hurry and tossed everything into the box without care. The third box held the toys he kept at Grandma's house. A bucket of Legos. A few action figures. A puzzle that he and his grandfather had worked on together over multiple visits. And at the bottom, the wooden door plaque. Oliver's room, in blue and white, now just a piece of wood in a cardboard box. I picked up the plaque and held it in my hands. It was lighter than I expected, just a few ounces of painted wood. But it had meant so much to Oliver. It had been proof that he had a place here, that he was not a guest but a member of the family. When did you do this? I asked. About a month ago. We wanted to get it done before the holidays so the girls would have a nice space to play during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it did not occur to you to tell us? To warn Oliver? I did not think it was that big of a deal. It is just a room. It was not just a room to him. It was his room. The only space in the world outside of our house that was truly his. Diane sighed, the way people sigh when they think you are being dramatic. Sarah, I understand that you are upset, but I think you are projecting your own feelings onto Oliver. Children do not get as attached to things as adults do. He will adjust. You do not know my son. You do not know how he feels about anything, because you never ask. You never call him. You never send him cards or letters. The only time you engage with him is when we are physically here, and even then, you spend most of your time with the girls. That is not fair. I love Oliver. Then show him. Show him that he matters as much as his cousins. Show him that being 600 miles away does not mean he is 600 miles away from your heart. Diane did not have a response to that. She just stood there in her garage, surrounded by lawn equipment and forgotten belongings, looking at me like I was speaking a language she did not understand. Marcus found us a few minutes later. He had left Oliver with his father in the backyard and come looking for answers. "What is going on?" "Oliver says his room is gone." I showed him the boxes. I told him what his mother had said. I watched his face go through a series of emotions, confusion, disbelief, anger, settling finally on a weary resignation that I recognized all too well. "Mom, how could you do this without talking to us first?" Diane threw up her hands. I did not realize I needed permission to redecorate my own home. "I am sorry if Oliver is upset, but this was a practical decision. The girls needed a playroom. And Oliver needed to know that he has a place here. That is what that room meant to him. He can still visit. He can stay in the basement. Or on the couch. It is not like we are banning him from the house." "The basement? Mom, he is 8 years old. You want him to sleep in the basement while his cousins have a beautiful room upstairs." "It is just sleeping. Children do not care about these things as much as adults think they do." I could see Marcus struggling with the same thing I had struggled with, the knowledge that his mother genuinely did not understand why this was wrong. The realization that explaining it to her was probably futile because she did not want to understand. She had made her decision, and any challenge to that decision was an attack on her as a person. "We are leaving," I said. Both Marcus and Diane looked at me in surprise. "What do you mean, leaving?" Diane asked. "I mean we are getting back in the car and driving home. We are not staying here for Thanksgiving." "Sarah, be reasonable. You drove 6 hours to get here. You cannot just turn around and leave. Watch me." Marcus put his hand on my arm. "Sarah, let us talk about this." "There is nothing to talk about. Our son just discovered that his grandmother turned his room into a playroom for his cousins without telling him. His things are in boxes in the garage like garbage. He is being asked to sleep in the basement. This is not a situation I am willing to put him through. But it is Thanksgiving. We were going to spend the whole week here. We will have Thanksgiving at home. Just the 3 of us. Oliver will be happier there anyway." I could see Marcus torn between his loyalty to his mother and his loyalty to his family. It was a battle I had watched him fight many times over the years, and too often, his mother had won. But this time, something was different. This time, his son had been hurt in a way that was impossible to ignore. "Mom, you need to understand something," Marcus said, turning to Diane. "What you did was wrong. Not because you redecorated a room, but because you broke a promise to a child. You told Oliver that room would always be his. You put his name on the door. And then you erased all of it without a word. I was trying to be practical. Being practical is not more important than being kind. Oliver trusted you, and you showed him that trust was misplaced." Diane's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw something underneath the defensiveness, something that looked almost like shame. But it passed quickly, replaced by indignation. "I will not be made to feel like a villain in my own home. If you want to leave, leave. But do not expect me to apologize for making reasonable decisions about my own property." "I do not expect you to apologize," I said. "I expect you to not understand why you should. That is exactly why we are leaving." I went to get Oliver from the backyard. He was sitting on the porch steps with his grandfather, who was trying to comfort him with stories about camping trips and adventures. Oliver looked up when I approached, his eyes red from crying that he had been trying to hide. "We are going home, sweetheart." "Already? But we just got here." "I know. But I think we would all be happier celebrating Thanksgiving at our own house this year." "What do you say?" Oliver looked toward the house, toward the room that used to be his, then back at me. Can we take my things from the garage? Of course. We will take everything. Marcus helped me load the boxes into our car. Diane watched from the kitchen window but did not come outside. Her husband, Frank, came out to say goodbye, looking uncomfortable and apologetic in the way that spouses often do when their partner has done something indefensible. I am sorry about all this, he said quietly. I told her we should have talked to you first, but she had her mind made up. Thank you for saying that, Frank. We appreciate it. Drive safe. And give Oliver a hug from me. Tell him I am sorry his room is gone. I liked doing puzzles with him in there. Those words, simple and sincere, meant more than any of Diane's justifications. Frank understood what had been lost. He just had not been able to stop his wife from causing the damage. We drove away from the house that had once felt like a second home, the boxes of Oliver's belongings rattling in the trunk. Oliver was quiet for the first hour, staring out the window, processing everything that had happened. Finally, he spoke. Mom, why did Grandma give my room to Sophie and Emma? Because she made a choice, sweetheart. A choice that I do not think was the right one. Does she love them more than me? The question broke my heart. I think your grandma loves you in her own way, but I think she has trouble understanding that love means making space for people, even when they are not right in front of you. I thought that room was mine. She promised. I know she did. And she should have kept that promise. When adults break promises to children, that is not the child's fault. That is the adult making a mistake. Am I going to see Grandma again? I glanced at Marcus, who was gripping the steering wheel tightly, his jaw clenched. We had not discussed this yet, had not had time to process what had happened and decide on a path forward. I do not know, sweetheart. We need to think about it. Oliver was quiet again. Then he said, I do not think I want to go back to that house. Not if my room is not there anymore. That is okay. You do not have to do anything you are not comfortable with. But I will miss Grandpa. He was nice. He did not throw my stuff in the garage. I know you will miss him. Maybe Grandpa can come visit us in Portland sometime. That would be good. Oliver paused. Mom. Yes, baby. Thank you for taking me home. I did not want to sleep in the basement. You will never have to sleep anywhere that makes you feel like you do not belong. That is a promise I will always keep. We spent Thanksgiving at home, just the three of us. I made a small turkey and all the side dishes, and we ate dinner at our own table, in our own house, surrounded by our own things. It was quieter than a holiday with extended family would have been, but it was also more peaceful. The cooking was actually therapeutic. I had been so upset during the drive home that I needed something to do with my hands, something to focus on besides my anger at Diane. So as soon as we got home, I threw myself into preparing a full Thanksgiving dinner from scratch. Oliver helped. He peeled potatoes and snapped green beans and stirred the cranberry sauce. He was unusually quiet, still processing everything that had happened, but being useful seemed to help. Every time he completed a task, he would ask what he could do next, as if he needed to stay busy to keep from thinking. Marcus set the table with our nicest dishes, the ones we usually saved for special occasions. He put out candles and cloth napkins and even found a small pumpkin decoration in the basement to use as a centerpiece. If we are doing Thanksgiving at home, we are doing it right, he said. Oliver set the table. He put out the nice plates and the cloth napkins and even folded the napkins into little shapes like he had seen in a restaurant once. It took him 4 tries to get the folds right, but he refused help, determined to do it himself. Mom, look, he said when he finished, his voice filled with pride. I made them look like turkeys. Kind of. They did not really look like turkeys. They looked more like abstract art. But I told him they were beautiful because they were. They were proof that my son was trying to make the best of a terrible situation. He was proud of his contribution, proud to be helpful, proud to be in a place where he was valued. Dinner itself was surprisingly lovely. The turkey was perfectly cooked. The mashed potatoes were creamy. The cranberry sauce, made from scratch because the store was closed by the time we got home, was tangy and sweet. We sat around our table, the three of us, and talked about things that had nothing to do with grandparents or transformed rooms or broken promises. Oliver told us about a book he was reading at school, a fantasy novel about a boy who discovers he has magical powers. Marcus told us about a project at work that was going better than expected. I told them about a hiking trail I had heard about that we should try next summer. For those few hours, we were just a family having dinner together. Not a family dealing with trauma or trying to heal from rejection. Just people who loved each other, sharing a meal. After dinner, we watched movies and ate pie and played board games. Oliver laughed and joked and seemed, for the first time since we had arrived at his grandmother's house, like himself again. We watched 3 movies in a row, all of Oliver's choosing. He picked comedies, movies designed to make you laugh, and we did laugh. We laughed until our stomachs hurt, wrapped in blankets on the couch, eating leftover pie directly from the tin. At one point, Oliver looked at me and said, "This is nice, Mom. I like just being us." "I like it too, sweetheart. Maybe we can do Thanksgiving like this every year. Just the 3 of us." I looked at Marcus, saw my own thoughts reflected in his eyes. We had lost something today. We had lost the idea of being part of a big, extended family that gathered for holidays. But maybe we had gained something too. The freedom to make our own traditions. The peace of not having to navigate complicated family dynamics. The simplicity of just being us. "Maybe we can," I said. "We will see." At bedtime, I tucked him in and sat on the edge of his bed, the bed that had always been his, in the room that had always been his. "Did you have a good Thanksgiving?" I asked. "Yeah. It was different, but it was good. Maybe even better than normal Thanksgiving." "Better? Really?" At normal Thanksgiving, I always have to share. Share the food, share the attention, share Grandma and Grandpa with Sophie and Emma. Tonight I had you and Dad all to myself. I like that. I am glad. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Anything." When Grandma turned my room into a playroom, was that because I did something wrong? Was she mad at me? I brushed his hair back from his forehead, looking into those deep blue eyes that always saw more than you expected. "No, sweetheart, you did not do anything wrong. Sometimes adults make decisions that hurt children without meaning to, and this was one of those times. It was not about you. It was about Grandma not thinking about how her choices would affect you." "It still hurt, though." "I know it did. And you are allowed to feel hurt. Your feelings are always valid, even when the person who hurt you did not mean to." I loved that room. "I know you did." I kept thinking about it, even when we were home in Portland. I would imagine what it would be like to go back and sleep in my rocket ship bed and look at my stars on the ceiling. It made me feel like I had 2 homes. One with you and Dad, and one at Grandma's. My eyes filled with tears. That is exactly what that room was supposed to be. Your second home. And now it is gone. The room is gone. But the love we have for you is not. You will always have a home with me and your dad, no matter what. And someday, when you are grown up and have your own house, you can have a room that is all yours, forever, that no one can ever take away. Oliver smiled, a small smile but a real one. I would like that. I would too. In the weeks after Thanksgiving, I had multiple conversations with Marcus about how to move forward. His mother had not apologized. She had not reached out to Oliver. She had not done anything to repair the damage she had caused. The first conversation happened the night we got home, after Oliver was asleep. Marcus and I sat on the couch, exhausted from the drive and the emotional turmoil, trying to figure out what to do next. "I cannot stop thinking about his face," Marcus said, when he saw that the room was gone. "He looked so lost." "I know. I keep seeing it too." "My mother really does not think she did anything wrong, does she?" "No. She thinks we are overreacting. She thinks Oliver will get over it and everything will go back to normal." "Will it? Will he get over it?" I thought about my son, about his deep attachments, about the way he held on to people and places and things. "I do not know. He might eventually stop being actively hurt by it. But I do not think he will ever forget that his grandmother broke a promise to him. That is not something children just get over." Marcus was quiet for a long time. "What do you think we should do?" "I think we need to stop visiting them, at least for a while. Oliver should not have to walk into that house and see what used to be his room filled with his cousin's toys. It would hurt him every single time. But that means cutting off my parents. My dad too, and he did not do anything wrong." "Your dad can come visit us. We would welcome him. But your mother made a choice, and that choice has consequences. She needs to understand that." The second conversation happened a week later, after Marcus had tried calling his mother to discuss the situation. She had been defensive and dismissive, refusing to acknowledge that she had done anything harmful. "She said we are being dramatic," Marcus reported. "She said Oliver is a child and children do not care about these things as much as adults think they do." "She is wrong. Children care deeply. They just do not always have the words to express it." I tried to explain that to her. I told her what Oliver said about the room, how it made him feel like he belonged even when he was far away. She said that was me putting words in his mouth. "It is not words in his mouth. It is exactly how he described it to me." Marcus sighed. "I do not know how to get through to her. She has decided that she is right, and anything we say just bounces off. Then maybe we stop trying to get through to her. Maybe we just protect Oliver from the situation and let her deal with the consequences." "I do not think we should visit them again," I said finally, making the decision out loud. "At least not until she acknowledges what she did and makes it right." Marcus struggled with this. He loved his mother, despite her flaws. He wanted to believe she would come around, would realize her mistake, would reach out to Oliver and try to rebuild the relationship. He had spent his whole life being the peacemaker in his family, smoothing over conflicts, pretending that difficult things were not happening. This situation demanded something different. "What if she never apologizes?" he asked. "Then we never go back." Oliver's mental health is more important than maintaining a relationship with someone who treats him as an afterthought. "What about my dad? He did not do anything wrong. Your dad can come visit us. We would welcome that. But I will not put Oliver in a position where he has to walk past what used to be his room, now filled with his cousin's toys, knowing that his grandmother thought they deserved that space more than he did." Marcus nodded slowly. "I understand. I will tell my parents." He hesitated before making the call, pacing around the living room, rehearsing what he was going to say. I could see how hard this was for him. Confronting his mother meant admitting that she had done something genuinely wrong, not just a misunderstanding that could be smoothed over with apologies and time. The conversation Marcus had with his parents was difficult. Diane was furious that we were essentially cutting off visits. She accused us of being vindictive, of overreacting, of punishing her for a minor decision about interior decorating. "It was not minor to Oliver," Marcus told her. "And until you understand that, until you are willing to acknowledge his feelings and apologize, we will not be coming back. You are choosing your wife over your own mother. I am choosing my son over your pride. There is a difference." Frank, to his credit, understood. He agreed to come visit us in Portland, to maintain his relationship with Oliver even if Diane was not welcome to join him. He understood that his wife had made a mistake, even if she was not capable of admitting it. A year passed. Diane did not apologize. She sent birthday cards and Christmas gifts, but she never mentioned the room, never acknowledged Oliver's hurt, never made any effort to repair the damage. The birthday cards were generic, the kind you buy at the drugstore with a cartoon character on the front. Inside, she would write, "Happy birthday, Oliver. Love, Grandma," in her careful handwriting. No personal message. No acknowledgement of who Oliver was or what he liked. Just the minimum required to say she had sent something. The Christmas gifts were similarly impersonal. Gift cards, mostly. Sometimes clothes in sizes that were slightly too small or slightly too large, because she had not bothered to check. Once, she sent a model airplane kit that was clearly meant for a teenager, not an 8-year-old. Oliver would open these gifts with a flat expression, thank her politely if she was on the phone, and then set them aside without much interest. He knew what they meant. They meant his grandmother was going through the motions, checking boxes, maintaining the appearance of a relationship without doing any of the actual work. Oliver stopped asking about her. At first, he would occasionally mention Grandma Diane, wondering if she missed him, wondering if she was sorry. But as the months went by and no apology came, he stopped wondering. He accepted, with a painful wisdom that children develop too early, that some people were not willing to admit when they were wrong. "Do you think Grandma loves me?" he asked me once, about 6 months after Thanksgiving. "I think she loves you in her own way," I said carefully. "But I also think she does not know how to show it very well. She shows Sophie and Emma. She shows them all the time. You are right. And that is not fair to you. You deserve to be shown love too. Maybe she would love me more if I lived closer. Maybe. But here is the thing, sweetheart. Love should not depend on how close you live. Love should reach across any distance. Your dad and I love you just as much when you are at school as when you are at home. Real love does not fade because of miles." He thought about this for a while. "I do not think Grandma's love is real love, then." It broke my heart that he had figured this out, but it was better than him spending his life chasing approval from someone who was not capable of giving it. His grandfather visited twice that year. He stayed in our guest room, the room that would always be available for family. He and Oliver worked on puzzles and went fishing and did all the things they used to do at the house in Sacramento. Oliver loved those visits, loved having his grandpa all to himself, loved knowing that at least one grandparent thought he was worth the 6-hour drive. The first visit was in March. Frank arrived with a car full of presents for Oliver, things he had clearly picked out himself rather than having Diane select. A new fishing rod that was just Oliver's size. A book about space that Frank had noticed Oliver staring at on their last visit, before everything fell apart. A puzzle of the solar system that they could work on together. "I wanted to bring some of the things from your room," Frank said quietly to me, while Oliver was examining his fishing rod. "The rocket lamp and the dinosaur posters. But Diane would not let me. She said it would upset him to be reminded. It would upset him to know she still has them but will not give them back," I said. "We bought him new things. He is okay." "I am sorry, Sarah. I should have stopped her." I knew it was wrong when she started moving his stuff out, but she had made up her mind, and you know how she is. "I know how she is. That is why we are not visiting anymore." Frank nodded sadly. "I understand. I do not blame you." He spent a week with us, and it was wonderful. Oliver bloomed in his grandfather's presence, talking non-stop, showing him everything in his room, taking him to all his favorite spots in the neighborhood. They went fishing at a local lake and caught 3 fish, which Oliver insisted on cooking for dinner. When Frank left, Oliver cried, "Why does Grandpa have to go? Why cannot he stay?" "Because he has a home in Sacramento, sweetheart, just like we have a home here. But I miss him when he is gone." I know. But he will come back. He promised. Grandma promised too. She promised my room would always be there. I did not have an answer for that. Some promises get broken. Some people cannot be trusted to keep their word. All I could do was show Oliver, through my own actions, that some promises were kept. That some people could be relied on. The second visit was in October, for Oliver's 9th birthday. Frank drove all the way from Sacramento with a cake he had made himself, a lopsided chocolate monstrosity with "Happy Birthday, Oliver" written in shaky frosting letters. It was not beautiful, but Oliver loved it more than any professional cake could have been. "Grandpa made this himself," he told his friends at the party. "He does not even bake usually. He learned how to do it just for me." That was what love looked like. Not convenience or proximity or easy access. Effort. Sacrifice. Driving 6 hours with a homemade cake in the back seat because your grandson's birthday mattered more than your comfort. Oliver loved those visits, loved having his grandpa all to himself, loved knowing that at least one grandparent thought he was worth the 6-hour drive. Oliver is 10 years old now. He barely remembers the room at his grandmother's house, the one with the rocket lamp and the dinosaur posters and the glow-in-the-dark stars. The memory has faded, softened by time and replaced by other, happier memories. But I remember. I remember the look on his face when he realized his room was gone. I remember the boxes in the garage, his belongings discarded like garbage. I remember the cold certainty in my heart that my mother-in-law had shown her true priorities, and that my son would never be one of them. Diane eventually apologized, sort of. About 2 years after the incident, she sent a letter. It was full of justifications and explanations, but buried somewhere in the middle was an acknowledgement that she should have handled things differently, that she was sorry Oliver had been hurt. It was not a real apology. A real apology does not come with pages of excuses. But it was something. A crack in the wall of pride she had built around herself. We have seen her a few times since then. Neutral locations, public spaces, never at her house. Oliver is polite but distant, the way children learn to be with adults who have hurt them. He does not trust her anymore, and I do not blame him. The room in Sacramento is still a playroom for Sophie and Emma. Diane never changed it back, never even offered. The twins are older now, 9 years old, and they probably do not use it as much as they used to. But it remains their space, a testament to the choice their grandmother made when she decided that convenience mattered more than a promise to an 8-year-old boy. I do not know if Oliver will ever fully forgive his grandmother. Forgiveness is a complicated thing, and it is not something I can force or rush. What I can do is make sure he knows that he is valued, that he matters, that there will always be a place for him in our home. His room in Portland is exactly how he wants it. Posters of bands he likes now, not dinosaurs. A desk for homework. A bookshelf full of books he has chosen himself. And on the door, a wooden plaque that I had custom-made, painted in his favorite colors. Oliver's room, it says. Always and forever. Because that is a promise I will keep. No matter what. I learned something important that Thanksgiving weekend. I learned that family is not just about blood or obligation. It is about how you treat the people you claim to love. It is about keeping your promises, especially the ones you make to children. It is about making space for people in your life, even when it is inconvenient, even when they live 600 miles away. Diane failed that test. She chose convenience over her grandson's heart. She chose the grandchildren who were easy to love because they were right in front of her over the one who needed her to reach a little further. I chose differently. I chose to protect my son from the pain of feeling like an afterthought. I chose to drive 6 hours back home on Thanksgiving Day rather than watch him sleep in a basement while his cousins enjoyed a room that used to be his. I chose to cut off a relationship that was hurting him, even though that meant conflict and difficulty and family drama. Those choices were not easy, but they were right. And Oliver knows, because I have shown him through my actions that he will never be an afterthought in my life. He will never be boxed up and put in a garage to make room for someone more convenient. He will always, always have a place. That is what being a mother means. Fighting for your child's place in the world, even against family. Especially against family. Because if family will not protect you, if they will not keep their promises, if they will erase your room and put your belongings in the garage like you do not matter, then they are not really family at all. They are just people you happen to be related to. And Oliver deserves better than that. All children do. Thank you for listening to my journey of discovering what motherhood truly means. I have left 2 more stories on your screen, each from mothers who learned that protecting a child can mean standing alone against those once called family. Choose the one that speaks to you. And if you want to join a community of parents who fight for their children, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, blood connects us, but a mother's love protects us.